Alrighty, Loyalty for Life here, bringing guys a brand new video. So this time around we got a brand new archetype analysis of Super Quantums. Now, you might be wondering, Loyalty here, I thought you said in your last video that you were working on a super long archetype analysis. I am, and it's taking longer for me to get done than I thought it would. So here's one to kind of fill in the gap until we get to it. But that's not to say that this isn't going to be a fun one. Super Quantums are honestly one of my aesthetically favorite archetypes in the game. Mostly because it's freaking Power Rangers. I love Power Rangers. I grew up with Power Rangers. It was a big part of my childhood along with Yu-Gi-Oh! And getting to say I can play Power Rangers in Yu-Gi-Oh! It's just so cool. I love it. It's awesome. I love the themes of this deck. I love how like the cards reference the show and everything. It's so cool. And I love it. I could gush about how much I love it every step of the way. That being said, as an archetype itself, with its effects, they're not half bad. This is not a bad archetype by any means. It just needs a bit more. It's almost there. It's almost to a point where I could argue that it'd be a really good rogue deck, but it's just missing a little something. I don't know how to explain it. It's just missing a little bit of a consistency thing. So the spells and traps are really lacking. But anyways, I digress. So, also, one other thing before we get into the video, I do want to go ahead and give a little shout out to something. I opened up a P.O. box. I've been getting messages like crazy for the past few weeks of people asking if they can send in fan mail and stuff. So, rather than give out my home address to everybody who asks, because obviously for obvious safety reasons that's not a good idea, I decided to open up a P.O. box. So if you are curious about sending me anything at all, I got a P.O. box open. The P.O. box address will be in the comments for this one video. It will be in the pinned comment, and also it will be at the bottom of every video description from here on out. I'm not going to show for it. I'm not going to mention it too often, except for in like fan mail opening videos, and that will be about it. So yeah guys, hopefully it works out and everything. I've never done this kind of thing before, so I hope you guys like it. And obviously I will do opening videos of whatever you guys send me, which, hey, you know, send whatever the heck you want. It can be fan art, it can be cards you want me to sign, which I am totally good with signing stuff for y'all. So, yeah. Anyways, on to the archetype analysis. First and foremost, what the heck are Super Quantums? Super Quantums are an archetype that focus on Xyz summoning using one card, basically. Basically, the field spell lets you cheese out the Xyz monsters by using one monster at the cost of a discard. Now, to kind of make up for this, every single Super Quant, with the exception of one, has a graveyard effect that triggers whenever they are sent to the graveyard. And in terms of the monster effects, at least the main deck monsters. And likewise, every single monster, with the exception of one, has an effect on summon. Additionally, the one monster that doesn't have an effect on summon can basically cheese out more monsters, so this deck is super easy to get out a bunch of monsters. The issue, of course, came with Master 04, so thankfully the deck did manage to get a Link monster, which is a really darn good Link monster. Like, I'd argue it's one of the best archetypal Link monsters out there. It just didn't do enough for the deck to be able to get going. So, yeah, the deck is really basically just make big boss monster and win. If you've ever seen Power Rangers, you kind of get the point of what this deck is going to be doing. So, yeah, moving on, let's talk about the first monster, Super Quantal Fairy Alphon. So, Super Quantal Fairy Alphon is a light level 1 fairy effect monster with 0 attack and 0 defense. It has 2 effects, and they're both pretty darn good. So the first effect is, once per turn you can target one Super Quant monster you control. All face-up monsters you currently control become that monster's level. And then you contribute this card, reveal 3 Super Quant monsters with different names from your deck. Your opponent randomly picks one for you to special summon to your field, and you send the rest of them to the graveyard. You can only use this effect of Super Quantal Fairy Alphon once per turn. So, let's just break that down. First effect, pretty good. It's not a hard once per turn, so if you have multiple Alphons out, you can keep doing it. And you can basically cheese out more monsters. It's really nice. He can become the level of whatever else you have on the field, and also makes your other monsters with levels at same level, which is pretty good. Second effect is where things get a bit nutty though. Alphon is one of the best cards in the deck, like hands down. Okay, so you tribute him, you basically get to choose any 3 Super Quants. Your opponent picks one, that one gets summoned, and then the other two go to grave. And considering, as I mentioned, with the exception of Alphon, they all have effects on summon or being sent to the graveyard, you're getting a plus no matter what. And it's insane. It's really, really good and just allows for a lot of shenanigans. Coupled with the fact that this card is very searchable, especially with the release of the White Ranger, and also the fact that this thing is level 1, so 1 for 1 and out. It's darn good. You absolutely should play 3 of it. It's that good. Moving on, we got Super Quantum Blue Layer. Also, I just want to make mention real quick. I love it how the layer is, like, the word layer is super close to Ranger, especially when you're taking into consideration that Japanese, like people from Japan have a tendency to mix up R's and L's, so it's very easy to say Ranger instead of layer. Like, heck, even I'm tempted to say it. I just love that little touch on it. So, Super Quantum Blue Layer. Level 3 Water Psychic Effect Monster, 1200 attack, 2000 defense, and it has 2 very simple effects. The first effect is, if it is normal or special summon, you can add any Super Quant card from your deck to your hand, except a copy of herself. And then if she is sent to the graveyard, you can target 3 Super Quants in your graveyard, shuffle them into the deck. The only thing is you can't target herself. Actually, no, you can target herself. It's really, really stupid. This thing, she is so good, okay? Not only is she a Stratos on summon, granted, yes, it's a hard once per turn, but still a Stratos on any summon, and she's a Psychic, so you can cheese her out with Emergency Teleport. It's so good, just being able to E-Tail her out, get a search, go on from there. So, so good. And then, of course, as she's sent to the graveyard, she's a mini Pot of Avarice for the deck. There's absolutely not a reason to play any less than 3 of this card in your deck. Moving on, we got Super Quantum Green Layer. Green Layer is a level 4 spellcaster, wind, 1600 attack, 1400 defense. I'll be 100% honest right now. I wish this thing was a warrior, because then freaking Rhoda in the deck would be like really, really, really good, but I digress. So whenever he's normal or special summoned, you can special summon a Super Quant from your hand. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can discard a Super Quant card and draw 1 card. You can only use each effect of Super Quant to Green Layer once per turn. So again, the fact that this thing's just a marauding captain, getting you more pluses on its summon is really good. And then, of course, if he's discarded or sent to the graveyard in some way, you get to just basically, discard and draw a card. That's so, so good. I love it. He's really, really, really good card overall. Very, very awesome. I just wish he was a warrior instead of a spellcaster. Speaking of warriors, we got Super Quantum Red Layer. He's a warrior, level 5, 2000 attack, 800 defense. And he, unlike the other Super Quants, actually has 3 effects. Well, White Ranger also has 3 effects, but I digress. So, Red Layer, if you control no monsters, you can just special summon them from your hand. So ideally, you would have him, Green Layer, and Blue Layer in your hand. Special summon Red Layer, normal summon Green, special summon Blue search something. Okay, that would be like the ideal play along with some other things, but the deck actually has even better plays they can do. That was just like one of the more ideal ones back in the day. So, if Red Layer is special summoned or normal summoned, you can target a Super Quant in your graveyard, add it to your hand. And if he's sent to the graveyard, you can target a Super Quant monster in your graveyard, except a copy of himself. Special summon it, but it cannot activate its effects. It's a bit annoying how you can't, out of monster you summon off of him, can't activate its effects, but it is really nice how it can summon any of them, even like the Link monster or the Xyz monsters. So it's a really, really good card as well, and also, of course, has recursion effects. Very good card overall. Absolutely a 3 of, like, with everything else in the deck, really, in all honesty. Like, you really basically play 3 of every good card for Super Quants. Then we got the card that makes this deck so freaking good. Super Quantum White Layer, along with Alphon. So he's a level 7 Fairy Light Effect Monster, 2400 attack, 2400 defense, and he, like the Red Ranger, Layer, getting them tongue-tied. He has 3 effects. You can send 1 non-light Super Quant monster from your hand or face-up field to the graveyard, special summon this card from your hand in defense position. When this card is normal or special summoned, you can send 1 Super Quant monster from your deck to the graveyard, and if you do, this card's attribute and level become the same as that monster's. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can add 1 Super Quantal Fairy Alphon from your deck to your hand, or from your graveyard to your hand. You can only use each effect of White Layer once per turn. So, just simply to kind of go over it again, He has his own inherent special summoning effect by discarding another Super Quant monster. Okay, so he's basically a Galaxy Soldier right there. Then, whenever he is normal or special summoned, like for instance with his first effect, you can send any other Super Quant from your deck to the graveyard to copy its level and attribute. And then, of course, that will trigger the Super Quant's effect that you just sent, which can then get you a special summon, a mini pot of Avarice, or a discard to draw. And on top of that, if he is sent to the graveyard, you get to search out Alphon or record it from your graveyard. This card is busted. It really is. It makes the deck work so well, especially in combination with some other cards that are outside of the archetype. And it's just such a darn good card. Really, again, you can't play any less than 3. Now we get into the extra deck monsters, the Xyz monsters. I mean, the first being, of course, the Blue Rangers Xyz monster. I keep wanting to call him like so. Jesus. Okay, so Super Quanto Mecha Beast Grand Pulse. It's a rank 3, 2,800 defense, 1,800 attack. Water machine monster. Needs 2 level 3 monsters to go into. It cannot attack unless it has Xyz material. All of the Super Quanto Xyz monsters, with the exception, I believe, of the Megazord, has this effect, and it's a reference to how they have no pilot, so they can't move. I mean, it's a machine. They gotta have a pilot, so I digress. And it just dawned on me, it just hit me. This is 2 dolphins tied together. I thought there was like one thing going this way, but no, there are 2 dolphins. What the hell? My brain just realized that. As I'm recording this, it's 2 dolphins, connected to each other. I never noticed that. Oh my god, I feel like an idiot. I always thought it was like a submarine going this way, but no, it's 2 dolphins going this way. Oh my god. Okay, so mini realization epiphany over. Once per turn, you can detach 1 Xyz material from this card and target a spell trap card on the field. Destroy it. This effect can be activated during either player's turn if this card has Super Quantum Blue Layer as Xyz material. Once per turn, you can attach 1 Super Quantum monster from your hand or field to this card as Xyz material. So this sets the precedent for what all of the other, with the exception of the Megazord, Super Quantum monsters have as their effects. It has the effect where it can't attack unless it has Xyz material, again referencing how it needs a pilot. It has a standard effect that becomes a quick effect if you have their respective pilot. And then also it can attach another pilot onto it, or any other Super Quantum monster for that matter. This card is overall really good as well. It's been commonly used in side decks, extra decks for rank 3 focused archetypes like Burning Abyss and other ones out there. So it's just an overall really great card. Being able to pop back row, you can't really go wrong with it. That being said, as with the other Super Quantum monsters, with the exception of the Megazord, I do recommend only playing 2. You have ways of recurring it, and you would rather not it take up that much extra space in your extra deck. Moving on, we got Ouroboros. He needs 2 level 4 monsters. He's a wind machine monster, 2,200 attack, 2,400 defense. And like with the other one, he cannot attack unless he has material. And then once per turn, you can detach an Xyz material from this card. Then target one other face-up monster in the field, change it to face-down defense position. And like I mentioned with the other one, that becomes a quick effect if he has the green layer. And of course, once per turn, you can just attach another dude onto him. Pretty good card overall. It's a Book of Moon. He actually got better with Master Roll 4 because now if you Book of Moon something your opponent controls, they can't make a Link monster using it, so it's rather annoying. Very good card overall. And then we got Super Quantum Mecha Beast Magna Liger. It's a rank 5, 2 level 5 monsters to make it. Machine, Xyz effect monster, 2,600 attack, 2,000 defense. Again, cannot attack. Once per turn, you can detach an Xyz material from this card and target 1 monster in the field. Destroy it. This effect can be activated during your player's turn if it has red layer. And once per turn, you can attach another Super Quantum monster from your hand or field to it as Xyz material. Again, really good, and it's got 2,600 attack power. And then you got Super Quantum Mecha Beast Luster Rex. This is the new Super Quantum Xyz monster that came out with, of course, White Layer. He needs 2 level 7 monsters to go into. He's a machine of XYZ effect monster, 2,700 attack, 1,900 defense, and of course he's light attribute to match with the Light Layer. And then, of course, he can't attack unless he has Xyz material. And then once per turn, you can detach 1 Xyz material from his card and target an effect monster on the field. Negate that face-up monster's effects until the end of this turn. And of course, it's a quick effect if he has White Layer, and once per turn, you can attach a dude onto him as Xyz material. So, in all honesty, it is a completely and totally viable strategy to just leave all or multiple of the Super Quantal mini bosses out on the field without making the Megazord. Because, you know, you got Luster X for disruption, Liger for destruction, Grampus for more destruction, and of course Ouroboros for more disruption. So they all have very good disruption effects or destruction effects. The big thing is that you might be wondering, well, why would you ever make the big guy? Well, very good reason. So this is Super Quantal Mecha King Great Magnus, a rank 12 with 3600 attack, 3200 defense. Machine exceeds effect monster. He needs 3 level 12s to go into, but you're never going to do that because the deck has a way to cheese him out, obviously, because there's no way to actually make him in the deck normally without cheesing him out. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can special summon 3 Super Quantal Mecha Beast Exceeds monsters with different names from your graveyard. Pretty good right there. That means if he gets Kaiju'd or something, you get your monsters back, so you can make him a second time. It's really nice how to do that with him. This card gains these effects based on a number of Xyz materials with different names attached to it as, well, Xyz materials. 2 or more. Once per turn, during your player's turn, you can detach, your player's main phase, very important there. You can detach 1 Xyz material from this card, shuffle 1 card on the field back into the deck. 4 or more. It is unaffected by card effects, except 2 Super Quantal cards. That's actually something that you can kind of cheese around with, because since he is unaffected by all card effects except for Super Quantal cards, if your opponent plays a Super Quantal monster like Ouroboros, Luster X, or Magna Liger, because they are generic, they can detach to, well, affect Great Magnus, which is kind of hilarious. That means that the mirror match, you're kind of more inclined to just leave them out as their individual pieces rather than making Great Magnus. Just saying. 6 or more, your opponent cannot add cards from their deck to the hand by card effects. So, this thing's got super good stats. It's a once per turn non-targeting spinning card. It's a just flat out not affected by anything. And while it has 6 or more materials, your opponent can't add cards from their deck to the hand, except by, they can't do it by card effects. That is stupid. This thing is very powerful and is the main game-ending win condition for the deck. If you can make this thing, and obviously, of course, nobody plays Kaijus as much anymore. I mean, you're more inclined to get, Ring Dragon of Rod Sphere mode, but with him and the Link monster out, you don't have to worry about that because you don't have a third monster. This thing is stupid. I love it. It's so good. It makes the decks, it gives the deck a clear and obvious win condition, and it's so good. That being said, because of how hard it is to summon, I can only really recommend it as a one of. And if it does die, of course, you can recycle it with Blue Layer, so it's not like the worst thing in the world. Moving on, we got the Link monster, Neo Super Quantal Mech King Blaster Magna. Good lord, the naming. It's just as crazy as it is in Power Rangers itself. So he's a Link 3, points all 3 downward arrows, 2500 attack, needs 2 or more effect monsters, including at least 1 Super Quant monster. This Link summon card cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. Each time a Super Quant Xyz monster with a different name from the cards you control is special summoned from the extra deck to a zone this card points to, draw 1 card. Okay, so basically on layman's turn, if you summon a Xyz Super Quant monster to your zone that he points to, you get to draw a card once per turn for each different name. So, anyways, if a face-up Xyz monster this card points to is destroyed by battle or an opponent's card effect, you get special summon 1 Super Quant monster from your deck with the same original attribute as one of those destroyed monsters. You can only use this effect of Neo Super Quantal Mecha King Blaster Magna once per turn. This card is stupid. It's such a good and powerful Link monster. It lets you just draw so much and just protect and keep up your board state and game state. And of course, he can't be destroyed by card effects, which means your opponent has to run it over in battle, which means they also have to get around Great Magnus spinning it back. So it's really good. There's no reason to play any less than 2. I can see a reason to play 3, but you don't really need 3 either, because again, he is recyclable thanks to Blue Layer. Moving on, now we get into the spells and traps, and this is where things get a bit disappointing. So, first and foremost, we got Super Quantal Alphen Spike. If you control 3 or more, it's a normal spell by the way, if you control 3 or more Super Quantum monsters with different names, shuffle as many cards your opponent controls as possible into the deck. Now, if it ended there, this card would be broken. Oh, I got 3 Super Quants, I get to shuffle everything on your side of the field to the deck. Awesome. Unfortunately, it does not end there. Then your opponent can special summon one monster from your X deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. You can banish this card and one Super Quantal Fairy Alphon from your graveyard. Activate one Super Quantal Mecha Ship Magna Carrier from your deck. So this card is good on paper. Like, oh, I shuffle back all your stuff, and then you get your big monster, and then we have a big kaiju fight with the Mechazord. Cool. But I'm not the biggest fan of this card. Like, it can be a blowout in certain situations. Don't get me wrong. Oh, your opponent has a big board stacked up with everything. Well, you got to fight through all those negates, get out 3 monsters, and then activate this. Hopefully it doesn't get negated, and then you get to shuffle everything back, and then your opponent gets to have a big beefy monster for free. So, yeah, I'm very iffy on this card. Personally, I like it as a one-of, and that's about it. I do like how they really experimented with it having a graveyard effect, because something that really disappoints me is that despite how much this deck discards, thanks to like with Green Layer and a field spell, which we'll get to here in a minute, the deck doesn't have many graveyard effects outside of the monsters. The monsters have graveyard effects, but all of the spells and traps, with the exception of Alphon Spike, do not. So that's something that always kind of annoyed me a bit, because it doesn't give as much versatility as the deck would like. That being said, the graveyard effect for this card is pretty nice, being able to get you to your field spell right away, so I can't really complain about its graveyard effect. Next up, we got Super Quantal Alphen Call Appeal. This is a quick play spell card that has absolutely awesome artwork on it. I love it. If a Super Quantal monster you control is destroyed by battle, special summon one Super Quantal Mecha Beast Xyz monster from your X deck. Then you can special summon one Super Quantal monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard that is specifically listed on that Xyz monster's text, but its effects are negated. You can only activate one Super Quantal Alphen Call Appeal per turn. So Alphen Call Appeal is a very interesting card. On one hand, you get to just summon a free monster. Oh, my Super Quant died. Oh no, I summoned another Mecha Beast from my deck. Then I can summon another Super Quantum from my hand, deck, or graveyard. So it does effectively get you 2 new monsters out. The only thing is that your Super Quantum has to die by battle, and you know, that's a bit annoying. It's not going to always be able to trigger, and if it was by battle or card effect, it would be great. I really do like this card in theory. It just didn't hit the mark entirely. That being said, I think for more competitive builds, you don't want to play any of it, like, at all. But if you do consider it, I would play no more than 2, and even then I would suggest one of at best, because it is searchable and it is recurable thanks to Blue Layer. So yeah, I can't really in good conscience super recommend this card unless like you really want to go for that cheese factor. Now we get to the best part about this deck, and that's Super Quantal Mech Ship Magna Carrier. It's a field spell. First effect, actually not once per turn, why am I saying that? Discard 1 card and target 1 Super Quantal monster, Quantum monster you control. Special summon from your deck 1 Super Quantal Mech Beast Xyz monster with the same attribute as that monster you control by using it as Xyz material. This spell summon is treated as an Xyz summon. You can send this card from the field summon to the graveyard, then target 3 Super Quantal Mecha Beast monsters, Xyz monsters with different names you control and or in your graveyard. Special summon 1 Super Quantal Mecha King Great Magnus from your X deck, and if you do, attach the targeted monsters and their materials to it as Xyz materials. This card effectively cheeses out the boss monster and all other mini monsters. Being able to just cheese out your monsters by discarding a card, it just works. This card is so good, and of course it triggers their discard while they're sent to graveyard effects. It's a really, really good effect. Now I don't know if this does trigger the what were they called again? The danger effects or not. But if it does, by God, play Dangers in Super Quants. But again, I don't know if it does or not, so I can't really in good conscience recommend Dangers without first checking with a judge. And I can't find any info online about it. So if anybody happens to know if that would trigger the danger effects, let me know down below. That'd be great. But yeah, great card overall. Play 3. It summons your boss monsters and your big boss monster. No reason not to play it any less than 3. So yeah. Moving on to the traps. They only got 2 traps. Super Quantal Union Magna Formation. Okay, so this is one of those cards where I like the concept of it, but the actual application is not very good. It's a continuous trap card, and your opponent cannot target Super Quant cards on the field with card effects during your main phase 1. You can target one Super Quant Xyz monster you control, attach one other face-up monster you control to it as Xyz material. You only use this effect as Super Quantal Union Magna formation once per turn. So, if this card just said your opponent cannot target or destroy Super Quant cards you control with card effects, period, it'd be great. Like, just flip it over, and now your Super Quantal Mecha King Grand Magnus has an extra bit of protection along with everything else. But, of course, that's not the case. It's only that they cannot be targeted during your main phase 1. Now, this is supposed to be a reference to how the bad guys always just sit there and watch as all the Power Rangers transform and stuff, before the battle gets started. So I get it, it's a funny joke, but sometimes you gotta sacrifice jokes for card design. Okay, just saying. I'd rather have a good card than a funny joke referencing the show. Moving on, we got Super Quantal Mech Sword Magnus Slayer. Speaking of a funny card that references the show and happens to be somewhat actually good, we got Super Quant Mecha Sword Magnus Slayer. Target one Super Quant, this is a normal trap by the way, target one Super Quant Xyz monster you control, equip this card to it. It gains attack equal to its rank times 100. Also, if it attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing battle damage to your opponent. During your main phase, you can send this equipped card to the graveyard. The monster that was equipped with this card can make 3 attacks during each battle phase this turn. This is such a funny, good card. I love it. It's not inherently something you might want to play, though. I would only recommend this if you have like the extra card space and are like, I have one card slot I need to fill up. Let's go and throw it in. It's a fun card. It can win you games. You target your big guys, they get bigger, and then you can send it to the graveyard to make it to where they can attack 3 times. It's nice for going for damage. Now, that is about all for Super Quants. But however, some cards to consider. First and foremost, I gotta say the Brewing Engine is absolutely fantastic in this deck. Okay, Orphis Scorpio gets you to Brilliant Fusion, obviously. And that also gets you 2 monsters on the field. Then you can make good old, what's her name? Aroma Seraphy Jasmine, okay? You make her using Orphis Scorpio and Darling Cobra, and you activate that Brilliant Fusion you just searched, and send Super Quantum White Layer and any Gem Knight monster to the graveyard, summon Seraphonite. Super Quantum White Layer then searches out Alphon, and then you summon Alphon with the extra normal summon, and then proceed to go off from there. It's so good, it just enables you to make Grand Magnus so much easier. I can't recommend it enough. Of course, also, other cards to consider are just standard hand traps and all that fun stuff. And yeah. So, what do I think about Super Quants overall? I feel like this deck needs, like, extra support so bad. It's so close to being good. It really is almost good. It's got all the makings to be a great deck. I think the big thing that holds it back, though, is a lack of good spell and trap support. And I really would like to see some more like consistency boosting. Like maybe something that says discard a card, add a Super Quantal monster from your deck to your hand. That'd be really good. Maybe a bit broken, but I would really like it. And it'd just be really nice to see something like that. I really want to see this deck get really good. I'd like to see it get maybe a Link 2 or a Link 1 as well. So what do you guys think about Super Quants? Now, before I get going, I do also want to just take a moment to say rest in peace to Pua Magagasiva. Oh, God, I'm sorry. It's really hard to pronounce your name, but Pua Magasiva was the Red Ranger for Power Rangers and Ninja Storm. Ninja Storm was one of my favorites as a kid, at least until Dino Thunder came out, which is funny because it was the next one after, but I digress. But Ninja Storm was the first Power Rangers show that I watched from start to finish as it was airing. Wild Force and everything before it, I kind of missed out on. I got to see a few episodes here and there, and I think I did end up seeing almost all of them when I was a kid, but I didn't watch them as new episodes were coming out. Ninja Storm was the first one that I got to, and it was awesome. I loved it. It was the best one that I had seen up to that point. I mean, I know people argue to heck and back that the original series was the best series, and that's just Gen 1er favoritism for the original series, but Ninja Storm was my first one that I really got to experience beginning to end, And a big part of that was Mr. Pua's a really good acting with being the Red Ranger for Ninja Storm. I don't remember much from Ninja Storm nowadays. I just remember it being really good, and I loved it, every minute of it. I remember the 2 extra Rangers were really cool as well. I really need to get around to rewatching the old Power Rangers series one of these days. And, you know, I don't know if you guys heard or not, but Pua Magasiva did die, I believe, last month or the month before. It was rather sudden. I think the dude was like in his 50s or so. And I just want to say rest in peace, dude. You were awesome. And I loved Power Rangers Ninja Storm, and I'm sure a lot of other kids did as well. I got some other just random thoughts on Power Rangers up here that I really kind of want to touch on, but at the same time we're over 30 minutes, so I want to say, guys, thank you again for watching this video. Have a great day. If it's your birthday, happy birthday, and see you all later. Peace out.